Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Dana. I'm so happy you're here. Are you still in Maryland? So since I decided most mornings I try to get the camera on and get things set up and ready before 11 so I can chat with you for a couple minutes before we actually get started. Instead of just sitting here like a doofus, like staring at the screen and being super excited to start at 11. So I'm so excited you had such a fun time yesterday. Isn't Queen's Ink awesome? Oh, I know. I'm so excited to go back. I am literally counting days because not only are so many of my favorite people out there, I always look forward to the food. Oh my gosh, Dana, if you're there at the same time as I am, we will have to go sometime and I'll take you to the best vegan restaurant. Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. If you're up for that, I would love it. So, hi, Libby. Yay. Yep, we just have 2 more minutes before we get started. And I'm sorry, do you feel like this background, since it's dirty, is kind of distracting? I can change it. I'm going to change it. I do not like starting with the messed up background because I feel like it's just really distracting. So with that. This. I have so much layers of stuff up underneath me. Some of this mess up. Oh goodness. I've been trying really hard to stay organized in my studio, and it is a challenge when you have so many different projects going on. And we've been swamped, which is great. It's not a complaint. I'm super happy to be swamped, and I'm going to just tease you all. I have so many good, exciting things coming up I want to tell you, and I want to run my mouth, but I can't. So you have to stick with me. I know, so many of you have stuck with me. This is really since the beginning. I want to say right here and right now, thank you so much, for believing in me all this time. Things are really starting to just come together, and I'm so excited. So, all right. It is 11 a.m. Welcome to World Watercolor Month, day number 18. I'm Kae Pea, and I'm here in my studio, the Moon and the Maker, home of RubberMoon art stamps. A couple things before we get started. It seems like I had to tell you a couple things, but now, of course, I can't remember. So I'm doing live Makey sessions in St. Louis starting in September. I already have September and October both planned with dates and locations. Please watch for those. If you're interested in coming, I will have links for signups really, really soon. Again, I want to say thank you so much for joining me for World Watercolor Day. Every day in July, or World Watercolor Month, sorry, but every day in July to celebrate World Watercolor Month, we're doing a live watercolor makey here on YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and dig right in and get started. Today I'm going to show you how I use larger stamps and create some backgrounds. We're just going to have a little fun with that. It's going to be a little bit quicker because I know yesterday was a little long, so we're going to clip right through this today. And I have a couple things to show you. Now, this is not my regular format. This is one I already did, and I think it's a 4x4, but it was already done. But I am going to go back to my regular 3x4 size. So I'm sorry if I seem distracted for a second. I seem to be missing. I'm going to have to probably stop and cut some more paper because I thought I had more, but I only have one. Anyway, I'll do that in a minute. This is 3x4 inches. It is cold press 300-pound watercolor paper. And that's just the format I've been using, again, to keep sort of unity with all my work. I will take a picture of all 18 days and post that again. I'm not going to do it every day, but I think on about day 12 or something like that, I took a picture of all of them together. And it's really fun to see your body of work really grow when you do something every single day and just even take a few minutes. You know, most all these watercolors have taken anywhere between like 12 and 40 minutes. So I know obviously and honestly, we don't always have 40 minutes to put in every single day, but even if you can just steal away 5, 10, 20 minutes, you can create a body of work, and you'll be surprised at how quickly that comes together in just a month or a few weeks, really, you know? So, okay, I'm talking so much, I'm running out of air. So I'm going to be using a couple different stamps here to show you a couple different fun things you can do. Larger stamps, and we're going to use them either just cling mounted like this. And honestly, this one hasn't even been used really yet. I still have the backing paper on it. Go ahead and take that off. It won't matter. I'm not going to use my acrylic mount anyway, but we're going to either use them cling mounted, or even I have one here that is unmounted, or just unmounted rubber die. I'm going to use that. And if you could do this with a mounted stamp, but it's a little bit easier if it's not. And I was just using this to show you as an example, really, really quick. Okay, so yeah, Jan, I'm not going to look at the comments because you always make me laugh, and I get distracted when I look up out of the corner of my eye and I see something, then I try to read it, and then I can't resist commenting back. So I promise to go back through the comments after I'm done. So anyway, we're going to take our same materials that we've been using, our core mini half pan set, or you can use your tube watercolor squeezed out into a palette. I'm dying to show you something that I got now again yesterday at the thrift shop. This is super awesome. It was in their little crystal section or whatever. I paid $1.50 for this. And I don't know really what it was originally, but I am going to use it for my watercolor paints again because I have spaces for colors all around, and then I can mix right here in the middle. You see it has like this, I think it might have just been a little candle holder or something. But anyway, thrift shop is a literal plethora I don't think I said it right, of great fun art supplies, because isn't it fun to have something sort of just pretty and whimsical to use? I mean, these are pieces that people, have gotten rid of. And I think it's really a fun touch for the studio. So I wanted to share that with you. And you all saw my egg platter from the other day, right? This is for deviled eggs. And so look how nicely these stack together. Woo, I'm so happy with myself right now. Anyway, that was an aside, but I love sharing that kind of stuff with you. And it goes along with watercoloring, right? So anyway, had this piece already done up, wanted to share the technique with you. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Now on this one, I actually watercolored up the stamp in the same color. So like all green, all blue, all orange. Of course, you could do it a little bit differently and mix up the colors right on your stamp, which I might do because since I'm working on this small piece, I'm not going to have as much room to stamp it all around like that. So it's going to be the same technique, but I'm just going to mix up the colors a little bit more. So I'm taking my flat shader brush, and I'm going to keep my stamp just flat on the table like this, and I'm going to paint it up. I'll use my brights here because one thing is that they're sort of dry already, so I don't want to get them too wet or mushy. My brush is moist, my paints are dry, and I'm going to just go in and paint it. Again, this is called the Peacock Boogie stamp from RubberMoon, but it's an Elizabeth St. Hilaire design. So I used some magenta, I'm going to use some orange. And again, you want to try to work kind of quickly if you can. I'm making sure. If you feel like it took you too long and you feel like your paints are drying out on here, again, you don't want it too wet. You really want the paint to be sitting on that surface. And but if you do feel like you got it a little bit too dry, you can always take like a spray bottle that mists, and I mean really mists, not, you don't want it too wet. I don't even know if you can see that, but I barely misted it. And now I'm going to take the paper to the stamp. This is kind of works well too. If you do get your stamp pretty wet, voila, okay. So if you get your stamp too wet and it's kind of juicy, if you take the paper to the stamp, it works a little bit better because all the water's sitting down in, in the recessed areas. So as long as you don't give too much pressure to the paper, you should be okay. It won't pick up all that wetness. But, and Jan, I looked up again, Jan says you can huff on the stamp. That really works with ink. I don't know how great huffing will work with watercolor, but it might. So, and now you can, of course, just go in and really just smush your color around like we've done and like we've talked about. If you want, before you smush your color around, if you want to darken up any of the areas maybe that didn't quite get very juicy paint, you can definitely do that. And you can, of course, work wet on wet, whatever little watercolor techniques and things that you've already, that you already know or that you've already learned. Of course, you can just go in and paint it up. And if I wanted to, of course, create a wonderful background. Now this looks more like a central image because it's just one stamp in the center of my small piece of paper. But of course, if you were wanting to do this as a background for like a larger surface, then of course you'd stamp it all around and just mush your colors. And looking pretty quick. And then for this, I think to just make this look nice and you can see how I can just get it to come to be, a nice little piece of work or card or whatever you're wanting is now. And of course, I'm going to let this dry and I could still finesse the colors. I know the glare is a little much, but I'll try to hold it up for you when I can, is now to just take a nice, beautiful, deep color. I don't know what. Maybe I will use, I'm going to try, oh gosh, I don't know. I want a really, really dark green. And I actually, let's see what I got here. I'm going to try this phthalo green blue shade. I haven't used it a lot, so let's give it a try. So I do want to talk a little bit about something because I've had a few people ask. So it might not be exactly relative to what we've been doing, but since it's Watercolor Month, I like to just share my little thoughts and tidbits about watercolor with you as I go. It's about creating a wash. So when you do, I'm pulling this over here because you can see my thick paint right there. Okay, that was my glob of paint that I just squeezed out, and it's the phthalo green blue shade. That's upside down, but there you go. I just squeezed it out, and now to create a wash, I'm really using a lot of water. And you can see I will even go so far as to thin it down to where it's very watery. And that is what really creates a nice light wash, and you can build your washes up to deepen value. So like my first wash might be that pale. Do you see that? See how, and you could even go paler because it's just going to stain your paper. So when you are creating washes, it's almost like glazing again and again. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know a couple people have said, I've been struggling with my washes, or they really don't quite understand what a wash is. So just know that it's a lot of water and you're building up your washes. Now, right now, I'm not really trying to create a wash. I want to create a background. I want it to be pretty deep and dark. So then I will go in more with straight paint. But that doesn't mean I can't still build up areas, you know? I mean, even if I go in with straight, more opaque or thicker areas of paint, once it dries, I still can build those areas up if I need or want to. And honestly, I'm not even sure if I really like this green or not. I mean, it's dark and it's pretty. I like the green, but I'm not sure it's exactly what I was after. But it's okay. And this is where you want to decide, do you want to go right up to your image? If you do, then you need to make sure that you know, a lot of your areas are dry, because if they're not, remember that's where they'll start to bleed and blossom together, which, you know, you may not want. And that one did bleed in there a little bit, but that's okay. I kind of like that little gradient, so it's fine. Because obviously some of my areas were definitely not dry. And voila. So this, and it, of course, again, size of the paper has a lot to do with, you know, why this is really more of a central image than a background. But please believe me when I say I pretty much did it the same exact way. And so that's sort of fun and quick, right? So, um, yeah, and I do love the color green. Don't get me wrong. I think it's beautiful. I just wasn't sure it was exactly what I was after for this piece, but that's okay. I do like it. And of course, then now once this dries, I could go in and still finesse these a little bit and paint more detail if I wanted to, or I could leave it just as loose and washy like this and be completely happy with it. All right, let's do one more. Actually, so this one isn't really a background image. This is Sandra Evertson's newest Tree of Life stamp from her Elements collection. And I need to cut a piece of paper because I was going to show this to you. So just give me one quick second. Okay, sorry about that. So I don't know if you heard me over there cutting. I was using my brand new paper cutter that I got. I don't know if y'all saw the post. I got a paper cutter at the thrift shop for $5, and it is awesome. Oh my gosh, it's old timey. It's like one of the old wooden ones, and the blade is awesome. It actually cuts straight, so I was pretty excited about that. So anyway, this is Sandra Evertson's Tree of Life stamp. And of course, it is a little bit big for the piece of paper, but it's okay. It takes up the whole dang thing. And we're going to do the same technique. Call it inking it up, but we're going to paint it up. And right now I'm using an olive green color directly out of my little golden palette, my golden half pan set. I'm going to also dip into some green gold over here. And just hit it in a couple other spots just to give a little color variation. And I have some burnt umber or something like that. Or maybe it's Van Dyke Brown. I can't remember. I'll look in just a minute. It's one of the colors in the half pan set. So I can't see that. I didn't realize it was out of the camera there. And again, remember, if you want to have it, make sure it's wet or even maybe a little bit more watery, you can always spritz it. And maybe I will just in case. Ta-da. So how easy is that? And then of course you can take your detail brush, your long round, and just some water and go ahead and paint that baby in. Just a little bit, little touches of water. I don't even really have to add that much more paint. It will sort of do some really fun little shading things all on its own because of certain areas where the paint is darker, little deposits of paint are darker from the stamp. So of course, take your time. I'm obviously pretty quick, but you could take even a smaller little detail brush and really paint in all these little areas and sort of get it wet. Like I've shared with you many times, get your little area wet and sort of let the paint just flow through the lines of water that you've created. And then, you could go in with a little bit different touches of green here and there and paint in some of the leaves or just give some little splotches, that kind of thing. And then, of course, last but not least, go back in with whatever color. And, dark colors are nice because they really make things pop. But then just paint in your negative space. And, of course, if you wanted it to be nighttime, then you would do a different color than if you wanted it to be daytime. Once again, I'm probably not being quite patient enough to let this all dry before we go in and paint this background because I really don't necessarily want that blue to run into my tree trunk or that kind of thing, but it's okay. And of course, for this particular image, I would definitely go in and give some little splotches of the background color in between the tree, branches and leaves and things like that, at least just here and there. But I absolutely do love, love, love this stamp. Oh, it's so pretty. And I would be, obviously sitting back, sort of looking at it, taking a little bit more time to, figure out where I'd want more of my darker leaves or different little bits of shading and things like that. I might have to let this dry and get my brown and kind of go back through and, color in some more of my branches, things like that. Deepen some of the areas a little bit by using darker touches of paint and so on and so forth. But that's where all your playing and experimenting and your touch kind of comes in. Okay. And then the same down here, maybe we just give this a little wash because it's the earth. Maybe it gets a little hint of green down in here too. You know me, I love to deepen my edges, all sort of my corners. I like to deepen those a little bit, sort of draws the eye in. So even on these small pieces, I find I have a tendency to do that even on my cards that I make and things like that. It just kind of gives a nice little sort of frame. And again, kind of draws your eye into the composition. So this would be no different for me. Ta-da! So there you have it, my friends. A couple different splashing of the stamps for World Watercolor Month. And quick too, only 24 minutes, and that was with this. So, all right, I'm going to go back and look at your comments. Linda, good to see you. Becky, good morning. Emily, thanks for being with me again. I've been loving your work so much. And Deborah, do you like to go by Debbie or Deborah? Karen says, I make mud. So if you find that you're making mud, there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind. One is that when you are working wet, okay, I'm going to grab something real fast to just show you. So having a color wheel will really help you too, because when you're working wet, as long as you work in colors that are pretty much like, I don't know, and I'm so sorry. Like, I know the difference obviously between my like primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, but when I'm talking about it, a lot of times I get all confused. So so I won't be too technical. But a lot of time, or when I'm working, I just like to remember that you would not want to use colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, because you will get mud. So like if I'm working wet, I'm not going to put yellow next to purple. I'm not going to put green next to red. I will go around the color wheel. So like if I'm working with red, I know I can put any oranges or yellows next to it. And even if it bleeds, it's going to be okay. So that has always just sort of helped me. And I keep this by my desk, even just to look at it if I'm having any sort of question. I hope that sort of helps you. And also, I will say, making all the color charts and just sitting down. And I am getting ready to, within the next month or so, do another an actual class, a watercolor class. But I will do things like just take my cheapest paper and make little color charts just to see what colors they look when they're washed out, how they will kind of go over each other. I mean, just sit and do nothing but this kind of thing just to see what makes mud, what makes a pretty color, you know, what washes I can get from those colors and things like that. So it's a lot of just sitting and swishing around in the water. And I promise that that is not only fun and relaxing, but it will teach you so much. Anyway, okay. So yeah, compliments. Compliments make mud, Jan said. Yes. So get one of these. It's really helpful. And letting stuff dry is good too, but you don't always want to, because sometimes you want to work wet. So, you know, just it's a lot of playing and knowing how much when you do this a lot, and especially daily practice, you will get to where you can feel how much water you need in the brush. I know that sounds crazy, but it's really true. So there's just such a fine line between loading up your brush with water or just making the paint moist enough to move and things like that. And, you know, all that just comes with just doing it again and again and again and again. and I want to. And so, and that's, I think, why that people that are passionate about, you know, what they do and love it, they want to do it all the time. So practicing, even though sometimes it can be frustrating or sometimes things, you know, still don't always work out as you hope or want, the practice is still fun and exciting. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, so I hope you had a great day 18. I know I did. I will see you tomorrow for day 19. Now, I want to let you know, I am going to be at a show, like a little show in St. Louis for a couple days. So I'm going to be pre-recording for Friday and Saturday. But I will be back here. And so Fridays and Saturdays post or video will still be posted at 11 a.m. Central Time for Friday and Saturday. And I will be back here live on Sunday. I'll miss you, but I hope that you still get to watch and play and get makey. And I'll see you and talk to you soon. Thanks so much. And love you to the moon and back. Bye.